Yo, where's MVD? Where's MVD? Hey, I knew you'd make it.
MVD and the boys.
Hey.
In my room with my smoker jacket on. The fireplace is burning and the girlie is warm. Time to make
My move, so gently I kiss her. Hey. Another classic. Heavy D and the boys. G Wiz, T Rock, God bless T Rock. He actually he fell off a stage and died during a concert back in the 90s when Heavy D was performing. So shout out to T Rock. I probably could have been a dancer. Pause. That's just how we got down back in the 90s. So good era. I'm always go back there. But Heavy D, shout out to the Hefster, man. God bless him. I think his daughter's rapping too. So hey, welcome back. No, we're a little late. Had a very rough weekend, man. Not gonna burden you with it, but lost a couple of gentlemen, man. Some young guys that passed away, man. Kind of hurt my heart. But shout out to their families, man. God bless them, be with them. Man, to all the people out here, man, just take care of yourself. Go to the doctor. Take your labs. Just be cognizant of your body and how you feel at all times. And don't be afraid to go to the doctor. But anyway, so we're back. The stage is set. We kick off tonight. So I was going to do Saturday, and we only had one game Saturday. Then we had a break. I said, well, let's just wrap up. Let's wrap up round 2. And then we'll get right into it, right? We'll get right into, so now we in the conference championships. It's kind of interesting. So we're going to go into the series. We're going to do a little recap of how we got to these finals. But we got 3 small market teams in New York City. So you got Indianapolis, you got Minnesota, and you got OKC. So it's kind of interesting. We don't have the big guns up in here this year. And not only that, we don't have the old heads in here now. Steph is gone, Giannis gone, Joker, he's in between. Giannis is in between. No LeBron, no Kevin Durant, no Jimmy. So it's kind of interesting. We are witnessing the transformation of the association right now. I think we're seeing the passing of the torch. As you can see, if you've been watching these games, we are in great hands. We have some outstanding guards in the league. And it's going to be fun. Even though these are small market teams, I think we're going to get 2 outstanding conference finals. Oh, we're drinking Ultra today. I'm only going to have a couple of sips. I got to get to the gym. Don't judge me. It's all right. We used to hoop after drinking, so why can't we get a little light workout in? But how did we end up in this Final Four? So we had a few closeout series since we last spoke. So Indiana and Cleveland, they might have been done. But nonetheless, the jury was out. And even Cleveland had a great season. We thought they had a blueprint. And I think they still do with the 2 bigs and how they played. Indiana just really outplayed them. Cleveland was a little banged up, but that's just a part of the game, right? That's going to happen. So there's nothing, we don't complain about that. You got to take it. I've been hearing talk now about Boston had an easy path last year's ring because people was hurt. You can't get into who's playing, who's not playing all the time. Like, things are going to happen in playoffs. That's just a part of the game. But Indiana is just they're a balanced team. And I emphasize the word team. This is kind of, minor trades, but they drafted Turner. They drafted Halliburton. I think they picked up the other Kuz Neesmith and Matteris, or I think that's his name. I got to look it up. But they built this team. Same thing with OKC. That team was built. New York, some trades, a lot of trades. I think everybody on that starting lineup was traded from somewhere. So they built that a different way, not as organic, but a younger built team, spent some money. Minnesota, pretty much there, drafted Anthony Conley, been there forever. They brought in Rudy. And of course, Randall, that was the whole New York trade. So that's kind of paid out for both teams. And OKC we talked about. So Indiana knocks off Cleveland 4-1. I really thought Cleveland would do a lot more. My man Max Strus went 0 for Walgreens. And it was kind of funny. He had a bad game, but apparently during the course of that, he was trying to encourage his team and telling people, hey, if you don't want to be here, you don't need to be here. Just kind of trying to push the guys, and then he just didn't show up. So it happens. But Indiana advances. So then we get to New York and Boston. And this was one for the books. A great series. Unfortunately, in game 4, we probably had one of the better games we've seen in this playoff series. Tatum goes down with Achilles. That was tough. At that point, you knew the series was over. And I know people were talking about they may get 1 or 2. Those are emotional wins. You're going to get 1. And they did. They won the next game. They got 1. It was an emotional win. They got it. Then they got blown out the next game. We were not going to get in that conversation. I heard that people saying they moved the ball better when Tatum hit. You have to adjust when you lose your superstar. You don't have a choice. You're going to change the way you play. Because the odds are the ball is in that individual's hands 70% of the time, if not more. He's going to touch the ball every possession. So, yes, of course you're going to change the way you play the game. Now, if you think Boston is a better team without Tatum, you're crazy. Tatum he led them in every statistical category during the playoffs. So he's the best player on the team, period. Will they suffer next year without him? Yes, they will. Will they make the playoffs? Probably. You know, they'll. I mean, you're saying you got to be a top 12 team, right? Top 10 team. So they'll make the playoffs, and that's probably it. They won't see any action until when he comes back. And by then the team may look different because that's $1 billion team on the floor. Like, they have a lot of salary things that they have to really sit down and think about. Between Tatum and Jaylen Brown alone, that's close to $700 million. They have to think about that. You got Chris Tapps, you got Drew Holiday, you got to pay Pritchard at some point, right? So they really are going to have that team could look a lot different by the time Tatum comes back in 2 years, in a year and a half or so. Then you look at the Knicks. The Knicks just grinded this series out. Boston had a lot of opportunities to win games, and they just didn't close out games. Now, you could say it's the way they played. They didn't know how to adjust. Whatever the case may be, they didn't close out games, and New York was a little bit hungrier near the end, and they played a lot tougher. That's just the bottom line. That's how that series ended. Jaylen Brunson got Clutch Player of the Year for a reason. He came through when his team needed him in the closing minutes of every game. He produced points. He got to the free throw line. And there was nothing Boston can do about it. So Boston, go back, reassess, how do you want to defend him in the next 2 years? Because he's going to be a problem and he's not going anywhere. So that's on you. They got to figure that out. For the Knicks, people talks about Tibbs and how much he plays them. But guess what? These guys were conditioned in the fourth quarter. There was no running out of gas. We'll talk about running out of gas when we talk about Denver. But they were conditioned for the fourth quarter runs. They fought through maybe 3 20-point deficits. They were able to fight through and get the win. So hats off to the Knicks for playing it. And eventually they got some output. It wasn't just all on Brunson. Cat played well. OG had a couple of games where he didn't show up, but he played well. We even got a sighting out of Mikal Bridges. So they came through. Josh Hart is consistent. He's there every night. Now, McBride in the bench, that's something we're going to talk about as we get to the next series. But McBride has some big games too. So the key for the Knicks now is just continue being a gritty team. And I think that's what this next series is all going to be about. Just the grit and who can all of these games will be won in the fourth quarter, but I don't want to go too far into that. So New York finishes off Boston 4-2. This is the first time they've been in the finals. Were they in the finals last year before last? But they haven't been on NBA finals since like 99. All the Knicks were there, and that's all you're going to see for the next few weeks. You're going to see all the old Knicks at every game. So it'll be fun to watch. So then we had Minnesota and the Warriors. Minnesota won 4-1. When Steph went down, we kind of knew that was it. That there wasn't much left to that. That, Jimmy played well. Warriors, it was 4-1, right? I think it was game one. Steph went down, so they won 3 out of 4. They won the next one again, another emotional win. They got a win, then they lost the next 3. Anthony Edwards is that guy. Is he MVP? No. Will he be? Yes. But right now he's having a great playoff series. He's adjusted his game. When the threes are not falling, he will go to the rim, and that's one thing I can appreciate about him. He will figure it out. He will get to the rim, and he'll mix it up, right? He won't just continue to keep chucking them up there. The only bright thing we saw out of the last were Kuminga, and Kuminga had 2 great games, 2 20-plus games in this series. Podzinski played well, but he didn't play too well near the end. He had some great games early on in the playoffs, but he kind of cooled off. And they adjusted to the way they defend him. They kind of took a Steph approach, and they just started crowding him out on his shots, forcing him in not his favorite direction. And Buddy just didn't get the shots off like he was. What does this mean for the Warriors now that they're done? I think that era is done. The Jimmy thing was nice. It got going, but age is going to be a factor. These guys are all approaching 37, 36, 37 years old. Everybody not going to play like LeBron. Injuries last longer. Good thing Steph didn't try to come back like Aaron Gordon. Steph is older. That hamstring going to take a lot longer to heal than expected, but now he's done. He'll be fine when the season starts. But what do they look like? They need a big. Can they go get a big? Don't know. Or do you invest in Trace Davis and see if he can become what you need? Looney's going to always be there as a backup at this point in his career. But the Warriors, their ship has sailed. The championship window is closed. Now, will they make a playoff team? And we'll always like to see Steph in the playoffs. We'll like to see Jimmy. We might get 1 to 2 more years out of that, but it's over. There's no more championships coming to the Bay. And I know some of y'all are going to hate to hear it, but that's just the reality. That ship has sailed. It was a great run. They had a nice 5-7 year run of greatness and some dominance. But now you're just a regular team. So for Minnesota, they got a great matchup coming up. We're not going to jump into it, but Minnesota, they took advantage of the situation. We talked about injuries happened where Minnesota kept playing. Gobert didn't have one of those crazy games, but he was an impact to the game. He's 7'4" or whatever. Like, he makes the lane. He's a problem in the lane when you don't have a defender. And it took them 3 games to figure out, we need to put Trace Davis in the game to keep Gobert honest. Because if not, he was just doing whatever he wanted. He was just roaming the lane. That's all. Roaming the lane, blocking shots, and getting deflection. So Minnesota pushed them away 4-1. We kind of saw it. We knew it was going to happen. So now, OKC Denver was probably just as exciting as New York Boston. So this went 7 games. If we go down, I think we probably didn't talk. Game 4 was an ugly game. I think this game was probably, I think both teams were under 40 at the halftime in game 4. The Thunder ended up winning. I think at that point it was 2-2. Denver had a 2-1 lead. I think it was 2-2 at that point. Terrible game, ugly. Nobody could hit basket, but the Thunder prevailed. And if you watch the last 4 games, and Thunder played great defense. They played great team defense. Caruso outstanding in these playoff series. The work that he put in against Joker, undersized but just in there fighting. This might be what OKC hangs their hat up on. So the Thunder win the ugly one. Game 5, they come back. Thunder win again, despite Joker going for 44 and 15. Again, the Thunder have these moments where they play lockdown defense. And Joker had 44. That was a hard 44 because they're throwing both bigs at him, pause. And they just got guys, whenever he gets the ball, they're collapsing. And they're making him kick it out, and other guys got to hit shots. Now, Aaron Gordon, great series. Hated to see him come up with what he had a grade 2 hamstring. He pushed and played through. We're talking about game 7, but Aaron Gordon hit shots. Russ even hit some threes. Michael Porter struggled near the end of this series. He just couldn't hit his shot. That shoulder that was a shooting shoulder, I believe, too. He didn't have much. He tried. He didn't have much left. And they're going to have to make a decision about him, too, coming up soon. So game 5, go to the Thunder. Now we're at 3-2. It was a close game, but they pushed it through. Game 6, now we get back. Nuggets go game 6 at home. Nuggets get the win to force game 7. But the Nuggets got a boost from Julian Strawther off the bench. He came through like 15 to 16. So that was huge for them because they weren't getting much production out of Russ and out of Watson. So he came through with probably 4 for 6 from downtown. So that kept them in the game, and they went on to get the win. SGA had 32. This was probably Jalen Williams' worst game in the playoffs. He had 6 points. And it wasn't for a lack of shooting. Some days you just can't buy a bucket, and he couldn't buy a bucket. Like, he couldn't get a shot to fall down. He hits a few shots, this series probably over with. But, hey, that's part of the game. You got to adjust, and he couldn't hit a shot, and there we have it. So, we go to game 7, and, well, it was a blowout. It looked like was it game 4 that was a blowout? I think it was, no, game 3 was a blowout. Nuggets came out hot. Warriors. OKC couldn't buy a bucket. But in the NBA, everybody goes on a run. And I don't know why I want to keep calling them the Warriors. OKC went on a run, and Denver couldn't. They took the punch and they got knocked out. They couldn't fight back. They couldn't fight through it. They couldn't stop it, even with timeouts. Joker got a couple of baskets, but the run kept going. And by the time you knew it, they were up 20 over the course of, I think it was 3 minutes from the second, 3 minutes at the end of the second, 3 minutes into the second through the third period, they outscored them by like 25 points. So now the game is it was pretty much over. I think he threw in towel early in the fourth quarter. He just cleared the bench, and they were down like 30, and you could see they didn't have much left. Now, unlike the Knicks, these dudes were gassed. Joker was gassed, man. I don't care what anybody says. He was gassed. He was tired. And he was getting beat up. I mean, they were being physical with Joker. And that's just normal. Like, that's hard to play through. As much as his usage rate. And when he went to get a rest, the team fell apart. So I don't recall what his plus minus was, but it wasn't good when he was on the bench. The team was bad. So OKC took care of business. Again, best team in the league all year. And they won. So now, tonight, we'll start over here with OKC in Minnesota. This is tonight's game. Tomorrow we go Indiana, New York. So how is this series going to play out? I was looking at the lineups. They match up very well. If you go from Chet and Randall, Jalen Williams versus Jalen McDaniels, Hartenstein and Rudy Gobert, SGA and Anthony Edwards, Dart and Conley. So where are the advantages, right? So I gave the advantage to Randall. I think Randall's going to win that matchup. McDaniels and Jalen Williams probably a wash. Rudy and Hartenstein a wash. I know y'all not going to want to hear this, but I'm giving the advantage to SGA over Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is very electric. He is not as good as SGA. He will be, but SGA can just do whatever he wants on the court. That's period. There's a reason he's MVP. And it's a slight edge, but it's an edge. Now, the Dort-Conley matchup, Conley has not been aggressive this series during the playoffs. He's had a few donuts. So I think if Dort comes off and has a few double-digit games, that could be decisive and get a win. What I will give Minnesota is their bench. That might be the deciding factor. If Minnesota takes this series, it's going to be because of Reed, DiVincenzo, and Alexander Walker. That's going to be the reason they win, because those dudes put up close to 30 points, 35 points a game off the bench. That's huge. OKC is not that deep. Caruso gives you something, but Wiggins and Wallace, they're just giving you breathers. You'll be lucky if you get a lot of output out of those guys. So this could come down to the bench and whose bench is most productive. In that case, I give the edge to Minnesota. But I think this will come down to superstar play and which superstar can will his team to victory. And I think that's going to be SGA. So for tonight, I got OKC. They'll be at home court advantage, first playoff game, Western Conference Finals. They'll win tonight. This series will probably go 6 games, possibly 7. We're gonna see some great finishes. They'll be close. I don't foresee a lot of blowouts, and the reason you won't see a lot of blowouts because both of these teams play good defense. Now, if Julius Randle stays on this tear, he could eventually be a problem for Chet because he's too strong. But the other side of this is Randle struggles with height. He doesn't do well getting his shot off, and they got 2 7-footers down there. So that could be a problem for Julius Randle. So we'll see how this plays out. But right now, tonight, I like OKC in game 1, and I like OKC in a 6-7 game series. I think they're going to win and go to chip. I know Minnesota's been there, and old wisdom would say, all right, they got there last year. They have the experience. They know how to win. But I think this is OKC's time with SGA. Now this next series, this is just going to be a gritty series. Like it'll be a little faster pace than the OKC Minnesota game. This game is just this Indiana New York series is just going to be gritty. Like this is going to come down to loose balls, block shots, defensive stops, and who takes the bigger shot at the end of the game between Halliburton and Brunson. This is definitely going 7 games. And I give the edge to looking at the lineups. I did the same kind of thing. I lined up Siakam versus OG, Naismith versus Bridges, Turner and Towns. Of course, that's an advantage. Towns, Brunson and Halliburton. You gotta give it to Brunson just because of how he's been playing. But Halliburton is no slouch, man. Halliburton has proved like he's not the most overrated player in the league. And he may take that and he might outplay Brunson. He has the potential to. And then Nembhard and Hart, kind of a wash. They play similar games. But I think Towns could be huge in this series and Brunson's going to be Brunson. So if Brunson and Halliburton kind of play equally and wash each other out, this is going to come down to Karl Anthony Towns and his shooting, right? Can he continue to knock down shots and take the Knicks over? Now, in this case, for the bench with these two, the edge goes to Indiana. Between Mathurin, McConnell, and Obi Toppin, they have a better bench. The Knicks really much rely on McBride. That's why the starters play so many minutes. Between McBride, Mitchell Robinson, what's his name? The guard from Phoenix. He'll get a little burn, but they don't go too deep. They may be at 7, and that's typical Tibbs, right? With his rotations, they may go 7, a 7-man rotation, maybe 8, depending on foul trouble. But tomorrow night. I think the first game it will be at the Garden. They won't lose the first game in the Garden. The crowd will be too electric. That crowd's going to be bananas, man. That crowd's going to be. And talking about crowds, this will be interesting. Yeah, all the stars will be out for the Knicks game, right? When you go to Indiana, OKC, and Minnesota, you're going to see more WNBA stars than you see movie stars. It's small markets. A lot of former players are going to come back to support the teams. Hell, you might even see Russ back in OKC, just supporting the team. But other than that, I can't even think of a star out of Oklahoma City or two. Maybe there's some country singers down there. Minnesota, you might get Justin Jefferson. He'll come out. The new quarterback from Michigan, he'll be out there. Indiana, you're going to get Caitlin Clark in the team. It's going to be interesting to watch the crowd. So watch the crowd and tell me how many superstars you see, how many movie stars and celebrities. So back to Indiana, New York. I'm going to take New York in game 1. I honestly This series is a toss-up. I think it's just New York's time. The Knicks will get to the finals, and we'll have to deal with Stephen A. Smith and Spike Lee. But I think the Knicks, these trades, the moves that they made are going to play off, and the Knicks are going to make it to the finals, and they'll be in the finals against OKC. So let's see how it plays out. I don't know. We'll see. But we're going to start tonight. Tonight, we got game 1, OKC versus Minnesota. So you'll have enough time to lock in, watch this before the game, get your pregame in, tell me what you think. Always, I appreciate y'all. Like and subscribe, tell your friends. We're at about 120 subscribers now. Probably not a big deal to everybody, but it's a big deal to me, and I appreciate all of you. So, hey, thanks again. God bless. Have a great evening, and enjoy these games. I'll talk to you guys Saturday.